Chapman, your moderator for the evening, and welcome to the Community Candidate Forums sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Greater Pittsburgh, the Black Political Empowerment Project, Voter Empowerment Education Enrichment Movement, and other nonpartisan sponsors. Now, this forum covers Pittsburgh School Board, Pittsburgh City Council Districts 2 and 4, and you'll hear statements from candidates for Allegheny County Sheriffs. The forum is live on the League of Women Voters Facebook page. The League of Women Voters of Greater Pittsburgh is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any candidate or any political party. Rather, the LWV seeks to have the informed and active participation of citizens in government, and it conducts candidate forums to provide opportunities for voters to hear the views of candidates on issues that they face. Now, before we begin, let's talk about the format of today's forum. Each candidate will answer questions and give a closing statement. Straws were drawn earlier by the League of Women Voters Committee to determine the order in which the candidates will speak. The candidate will have a chance to answer each question, with each person having 1 minute to respond. There will be no time given for rebuttals, so if a candidate wishes to respond to another candidate's statement, he or she will need to use time from the answer to the next question. So use your time wisely. You get 1 minute. I will be asking the questions in a rotating manner so that each candidate will have the chance to be the first to answer a question within the given time frame set by the League of Women Voters. Now, keep in mind tonight we have 12 candidates in this portion of the forum. So everyone may not get a chance to get the question asked first. Questions have been gathered from a variety of sources and have been reviewed for relevance to the position being sought and also for duplication, clarity, and civility. Now, this is a very important one, so listen up, everybody. Candidates' answers will be timed. You will have 1 minute. Make sure you get your answer in within 1 minute, because when your time is up, someone from the League of Women Voters will mute your mic. We have a lot of candidates tonight, so keep that in mind, everybody. And remember, these candidates, they're your friends, they're your neighbors who have stepped forward to serve their community. Now, I will state the question one time. This is who will you hear from tonight for the Pittsburgh School Board. From District 1, Grace Higginbotham, Carlos A. Thomas, and President and incumbent Sylvia C. Wilson. From District 3, Lamont Frazier Jr. and incumbent Salah Uddin. From District 5, incumbent and second Vice President Terry Kennedy and Tracy Reed. From District 7, Jamie Petrowski and Camille Scantling. From District 9, incumbent Veronica M. Edwards, Jean Walker, and Delancey Walton. Let's begin with the first question to all of the candidates. Students in Pittsburgh Public Schools have returned to in-person learning. If COVID-19 cases rise, what criteria would you use to determine if schools should close, and what type of communication would be used for the community? Let's begin with Grace Higginbotham from District 1.
The first thing I think that needs to happen is we would have to take students' temperatures and have them sign releases. We would have to see how many were vaccinated, but also I would think in terms of getting communication out to community. I think that that is something that we can put on district website. I know that the school board has like robocalling for when schools close. So that is another avenue which we can do. We can also send letters, emails, and then have the social workers and administrators, as well as teachers, personally call each family to make sure and to ensure that families are notified in an appropriate amount of time, and to understand how the district is going to handle what steps are coming next.
Thank you so much.
Sandy, you're muted.
Yes, I have no control over my mute button, but somehow I got muted. So let me say the next candidate. To answer the question is Terry Kennedy from District 5.
Thank you very much. First of all, we have an approved safety plan. When I say we, the district, that was submitted to Pennsylvania Department of Education, and it shows us what we have to follow to make the decision, now that we're open, and we would have to follow that in making the decision. We also have decision trees for when we would close individual schools. So we would follow these plans that are already approved. As far as communicating, we would be using a combination of robocalls, email if we have your email address, we would use the district's social media account, and last but not least, we would ask the local media to publicize. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your answer. Next up, Salah Ud.
You got muted again. I don't know why.
I have no idea why I keep getting muted, but Salah Uddin from District 3 will be next. Please unmute your mic, Mr. Uddin.
Thank you. The district takes into account the general level of infection in the county and the number of positive cases that are confirmed. In addition to that, the district has a certain number of infections based on its protocol as to what the cutoff number is for a decision to close the schools. The communication would go to the parents and to all the students involved in the school. The communication would be by email, by text, and robocall, and all of the communication on the website would also inform the parents and others who need to be informed. So everybody would be informed, including the general media, which would also be requested to announce that the school is closed and for how long.
Thank you for your time. It's now your turn, Gene Walker from District 9.
Thank you. So I believe that what has been said already about how the decisions are made and the communication in real time are all legitimate. What I would like to see is that plan given to parents today so that they can know the metrics that are being used so that they can follow along. And then it has been suggested, and I don't know if it's been implemented yet, but we could put a COVID dashboard on the website of the district, on their Facebook page that tracks these things in real time, so that as parents have information on what would cause a closing, they can also follow real time what's happening, so that if a closing is imminent, they're not taken by surprise. And so I think communication needs to start now while schools are open, so that parents can anticipate and plan. And then all of the other things that were said, email, Facebook, media, should be implemented as well.
Thank you. And next up, Carlos A. Thomas from District 1.
I think as far as the communication aspect of things go, the district has already done and has gotten better at communicating with parents. As far as the robocalling, Facebook posts, even down to individual schools who are also spreading the word. I think that is something that we can keep doing. I would have to agree with Jane as far as, making the information public as to what would close a school. So our parents can look out for those symptoms and those problems a lot, excuse me, a lot earlier before we even have to close a school. I think being proactive is something that we can do in this manner by just simply making those options public.
Thank you. Camille Scantling from District 7, you're next.
Thank you, Chandy. So when you ask this question, thinking about when should schools close, I would suggest looking at vaccination rates of the teachers in the event that rates are rising in the county to where school closings are a consideration. So if we have a certain percentage of teachers and faculty vaccinated in the school, that may warrant a hybrid model instead of closing the school altogether. For communication about when that would happen, I think we need to, as this was stated before, communicate to parents and families what the criteria would be to close the schools. We should communicate what the vaccination rates would be in order to do the hybrid model. And then we can use the robocalling, which is done currently, telebanking and texting, use the website and make sure that stays up to date. And an additional measure I think would be great would to be use the local news and partner with them so they can run a banner about when schools are closing and which schools are closing.
Thank you. It's your turn to answer the question. Lamont Frazier Jr. from District 3.
Well, thanks for the question. I'm gonna echo the sentiments of the previous candidates. I think we just continue to do what we have been doing. So far, social media, robocalls as well. Also, like I said, put on the news to inform parents, giving them proper notice. What am I missing? Social media, and that's pretty much it. Not gonna waste too much time echoing the sentiments of the previous speakers. So that's where I stand on it.
Okay, thanks for your answer. Tracy Reed from District 5, you're next.
Thanks, Chandy. Yeah, so the district has an emergency plan, right? The following CDC guidelines, there is an indication of infection rates, how many infections would require a school to close. I agree that over communication, one of the issues that I've found is just in talking with the community is that parents are sort of frustrated with the lack of communication. And so I think at this stage in the game, over communication is really important. The goal will be to make sure that families feel physically, socially, emotionally safe with whatever decisions the district is making. And so I think that at this stage in the game, we really should be over communicating with families so that they feel safe and informed.
Thank you for your answer. Sylvia C. Wilson from District 1, please answer the question.
Thank you. First of all, there is information right now on the board's website, a dashboard of information on what happens with COVID cases in the district. We'd have to adhere to the guidelines from the state and the county as well, which we have been doing all year long. We do have a very wide communications network, Parents First. Also then, of course, all the other ways that everyone has already mentioned, the website, social media to get to the overall community. So we already have, as a matter of fact, we have more than 80% of our teachers and employees are already vaccinated. And at this current time, we're actually looking at getting our young people vaccinated. I know that there is a group that have been working with 16 and older, but I just received information yesterday that we are actually able to vaccinate children from 12 and up. So there's many efforts right now to make sure everyone is safe. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Delancey Walton from District 9, it's your turn to respond to the question.
Yeah, so as Ms. Sylvia just mentioned, the 12 through 17 getting our students vaccinated will be a good help because it comes with the Pfizer vaccination, what they just dropped. So that would be help to keep us in a hybrid model. So for in that stage, we can ask parents what would be best for their students to come in or stay at home. If it gets too worse, where we have to close schools, as everybody mentioned, we have the opportunity to connect with parents on the emergency plan that we do have and then continue pushing from there.
Thank you so much. Veronica M. Edwards from District 9, please answer the question.
Good evening. They are correct. Everybody gave good answers, and the district does abide by the guidelines of the PD, the CDC. What we did a little different here in the West, though, is we held a vaccination clinic for parents, so that the parents and students go back and forth between school, that the parents would be vaccinated also. So those are all good answers. The media, social media, Chandy, WTAE, all the other medias come into play. Our communications department does handle that well. Robocalls go out and the public is alerted that the school district is changing for the schools for that day.
Thank you for your answer. Jamie Petrowski from District 9, it's your turn.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I mean, just to, again, echo all of these points, you know, following state guidelines, CDC guidelines, but to add to that, as the governor's orders are lifted later this month, I think it's really important to pay closer attention because as folks, you know, we will still have a mask mandate, but a lot of rules with restaurants and stores are going to be lifted. So making sure that, you know, folks take extra precaution, you know, as they're returning back to school. So making sure that we're doing appropriate contact tracing, and also making sure that when we try to communicate with families that we're really focusing on the hard to reach families. So I'm thinking of folks who are English language learners or folks who may or may not have internet at home or some scattered internet access. So making sure that we're really able to reach out to those families, as well as, you know, schools that have siblings in different schools. So if one gets sick and then they end up bringing it home, you know, and then taking it to school. So again, really following contact tracing to make sure that we don't end up infecting multiple buildings. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer. Well, let's move on to our next question. Please define what you see as the proper relationship between the school board and the superintendent and explain how this relationship affects students in the district. This time we'll start with Terry Kennedy from District 5.
Sorry, I had a screen message pop up. First of all, the proper relationship is what we call a team of 10. The school board, 9 school board members and the superintendent should be working as a team. However, the superintendent has 9 bosses, which are the 9 other members of the team. So there are times where it can be, if the 9 members cannot agree, there are sometimes it's hard for the superintendent. But no one board member has the ability to give the superintendent direction and expect the superintendent to follow. It only happens when there's a majority of the board. So the proper relationship should be that as a working relationship, that we're working with the common goal, which is to improve the education for all of our students. And I forget the rest of the question because we went in right away. So sorry. Thank you.
That's fine. You only had 3 seconds left before you were muted. So we're going to move on to Salahudeen from District 3. You'll be next.
The school code.
You are muted, Mr. Udine.
How's that?
Very
The
good.
school
You can
code
start now.
lays out pretty clearly that the relationship between the board and the superintendent is that the board is responsible for the general oversight, the policy oversight of the entire school district, including the superintendent. That includes the board having to evaluate the superintendent and to determine what the compensation package is for the superintendent. I think that we need a stronger evaluation and oversight of the superintendent than we have had in the past. But the general relationship is one of policy oversight. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. It's now your turn. Gene Walker from District 9.
Thank you for this question. So yeah, one of the two main job functions of the school board director is to hire, manage, and evaluate the superintendent. And the goal in that should be to both work collaboratively, but to also push the superintendent to produce policies and procedures and vision to produce outcomes in students. And so while we can and should work in conjunction with the superintendent, at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that the superintendent is producing outcomes for our kids. And in doing so, we need to make sure that we evaluate him properly and that producing outcome for kids is the main thing that we're holding him accountable for. And so as the direct supervisor for the superintendent, that is our main job. And we want to make sure that he is producing outcomes for our kids through things that he
Thank you
puts
very
in place.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, Carlos A. Thomas from District 1, you're next to answer the question.
So I think our first job as elected officials should be to advocate to the superintendent on behalf of our communities. That has to come first, because without that, then there can't be a working relationship. Without that understanding, there definitely has to be a transparent accountability on both sides, from the superintendent to the board and from the board to the superintendent. And that's pretty much my clear-cut answer.
Okay, thanks for your answer. Next up, Camille Scantling from District 7. It's your turn to answer the question.
Yeah, so the relationship between school board members and the superintendent is that the school board members are there to evaluate, well, to choose, evaluate, and work collaboratively with the superintendent in order to not only improve the outcomes, but maintain them if they are what people are looking for. I think as school board members, at least for myself, this is going to kind of echo something that Carlos said. My job will be to take the concerns and needs of the community to the board and to the superintendent and ensure that what the community is asking for, what parents and families are asking for, are being addressed by the superintendent. This will help foster trust within our communities, trust in the school district, and also help the superintendent to be the best version of him or herself so that they can do the best job for our students.
Thank you for your answer. It's your turn to answer the question, Lamont Fraser Jr. from District 3.
Yes, I think we should, the relationship should be continue oversight, holding our superintendent to the highest standards, not getting into unnecessary conflicts, and having our children struggle or suffer because we can't come to a mutual agreement, and just working together just to come up with the proper policies to benefit not only our kids, but our kids' families. And that's where I'm at.
Thanks for your answer. Tracy Reed from District 5, you're next to answer the question.
Thank you. So the job of the board is to evaluate, manage, and hire a superintendent. The board is also instrumental in helping to set a vision for the district. So in setting that vision, that should revolve primarily around student outcomes. It is imperative that all of the activities of the district, and this is how we evaluate the superintendent, right? All of the activities of the district really speak to how we're getting to outcomes for kids, and especially those that revolve around academic outcomes, achieving high academic outcomes for our children. And so the relationship should be one that is cooperative, and it should be one that is that there's the board and the superintendent are working together. But if there is conflict, then that also has to be, the board has to take action to help to guide the superintendent in the direction he should.
Thank you. Next up, Sylvia C. Wilson from District 1. Please answer the question.
Thank you so much. The relationship between the superintendent and the board is, first of all, it is a team. It is a team. The board does hire and evaluate the superintendent, but the evaluation is based on the goals that the school board sets, the goals of which direction they want the school district to go. And it's the superintendent's role to follow that goals and make sure that those outcomes are actually in, where do I want to be the result? We're looking at student outcomes. It's his job to make sure that the administration, the teachers, and everyone in the district adheres to those goals. And that is the relationship. And as a team, you get things done. You do not get it done if you're not together. And that's why it is a team of 10. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, Delancey Walton from District 9. It's your turn to respond to the question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with the team of 10 thing. I believe that the relationship between the superintendent and the school board members is a collaborative act, and it should be student focused, and it should be a selfless communication and a positive and healthy relationship going forward, so that we can make good decisions and procedures to set impactful outcomes for our students. And then creating a great atmosphere for our students will result in how we create an atmosphere in our meetings. So just leaving our hearts on the table and putting our minds together and doing the work that we have to do individually, and then doing the work that we have to do together as a team.
Thank you for your answer. Next up, Veronica M. Edwards from District 9. Please answer the question.
There is a contract with the superintendent, and it does take teamwork to make that dream work. It still does. But a lot is in the decision-making process and collaboration headed towards the goal of educating all children, because all children are in the Pittsburgh Public Schools. So if we work as a team and we collaborate together, we respect each other, then we can have some outcomes that'll be good for all students. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Next up, Jamie Petrowski from District 7. It's your turn, please, to answer the question.
Yes, thank you. And again, to echo a lot of the points of my colleagues, you know, it definitely is a working relationship. And I think that there, you know, with, you know, so many, you know, bright candidates that, you know, that could, you know, be in these seats, I think this is a really great opportunity, you know, to really shoot for the stars, essentially. You know, there's so many fresh ideas and everything, you know, so it's definitely, you know, very teamwork oriented, and then making sure that, again, that the board, you know, holds, you know, not only themselves accountable, but as well as the superintendent, and making sure that, you know, the goals that we said were going to be met are actually being met, and then adjusting as necessary, so that, you know, we're not blindsided by our own ideas. You know, if something is not working, then that also means that something needs to change. And so then that also means that there needs to be an open line of communication between the superintendent and the board, because not only for student outcomes, you know, for folks I would represent, but the district as a whole.
Thank you for your answer. Next up, Grace Higginbotham from District 1. You can answer the question at this time.
I would like to echo all of the sentiments. I think everybody has pretty much said everything that I would have said. But I would also just like to reiterate the fact that policy oversight, and we are the supervisors, even as a team of 19 of 10 of the superintendent, it is incredibly important that we work collaboratively, but in the same token, we also have to be sure to mandate accountability with the superintendent and reaching the goals and the benchmarks, but also thinking outside of the box on how we're going to achieve that, but ensuring that as the leader, the superintendent is, that they are also thinking outside of the box and pushing the envelope on what can be done for the bottom line, which is our students. I definitely feel that the community has to be, families and communities have to be at the forefront of the decision-making process and what they want to see in our district, so that as school board members and the superintendent, we can bring that to fruition. And I think that we have to cultivate a culture of respect. We have to cultivate a culture of integrity, transparency, and accountability. And with
Thank you for your time. Next up, we'll have our third question. As a school board member, how would you address school to prison pipeline issues outlined in a report with data from Allegheny County Juvenile Probation Office that shows more Black students in the district are referred to the juvenile justice system in comparison to white students? Now, this is a longer question, so I'm going to repeat it. As a school board member, how would you address school to prison pipeline issues outlined in a report with data from Allegheny County Juvenile Probation's Office that shows more Black students in the district are referred to the juvenile justice system in comparison to white students? We begin with Gene Walker from District 9.
So this is a really important question that leads me to believe that in schools, we need to create an environment that fosters education, so that when students come to school, they know they're there to be educated, and move away from the idea that school is another place where you can get in trouble and be sent to prison or referred to the criminal justice system. And so that starts with building relationships. We have to understand and know our students so that if problems arise while they're in school, we can begin to address those through the relationships that we've built with our students. And that will take making sure that we have stability in our leadership in the buildings through our principals, and stability with our teachers, and time and opportunity for folks to get to know students before referring them to outside sources like the police or the criminal justice system.
Thank you for your answer. Carlos A. Thomas from District 1, you're the next candidate to answer the question.
I have to be quite honest and quite frank. We know what to do, and we've been known what to do, because the effects are in the same effects are in our legal system. You know, with on the other side of 11% of Black men getting, arrested, like that's not by chance, and that's not by popularity. I think we need to address the fact that we're still deciding whether or not we should have police in our schools. I think we need to address the fact that we're deciding whether or not, we need more security. Like, we need to stop criminalizing our children. I think that's the first thing that we need to do, and then identify what can we do to make them better, make them excel, and make them be able to be educated.
Thank you for your answer. Camille Scantling from District 7, you're next.
Yes, so first I want to do a little bit of a rebuttal from the last question around the superintendent and the school board members. And I just want to kind of also reiterate about the team membership part. Part of being a team means holding your other team members accountable, and that needs to be a priority for our district, considering where we are today with accountability. As far as the school to prison pipeline, I think we need to increase our Black faculty, being that our district is 53% Black and our teaching staff is about 13% Black. This way people can identify culturally with their students and then the students with the staff. We should improve reading outcomes, because we know there's a correlation of failing reading grades by the 3rd grade and the school to prison pipeline, and people not sticking with school at that point. We should prioritize the humanity of our students by putting mental health supports, social services in our school, remove the police from schools as the first line of enforcement of discipline, and use the community school model so we have community organizations being a conduit for communication.
Thank you for your answer and your rebuttal. It's your turn, Lamont Frazier Jr. from District 3.
Okay, yeah, first, in the school prison pipeline, first off, we need to hire more diverse staff to deal with our students. That starts with the counselors and paraprofessionals, teachers' aides, just to go in the classroom and help mitigate some of the issues that are going on. Like I said, we need counselors to go into these students' homes and try to assess the issues that are going on, like I said, at the house, and try to help with those as well. We need more training for these teachers to understand what our kids are dealing with, and not being so quick to write them off as problem children. And we really need to just reimagine how we're looking at school safety, and how we're over policing our kids, and just try to mitigate some of the police in our schools. And I think having the counselors and the paraprofessionals and all the help with the teachers will be.
Thank you for your time. Tracy Reed from District 5, your next candidate to answer the question.
Thanks. This is a really important issue, and it is true that we over-police, over-surveil, we over-punish our children from the youngest ages. If we are doing school in a right way, if we are doing school in a way that is respectful and effective, then as children age, we won't see so many, quote unquote, discipline problems. If you look at the group of kids for whom this school to prison pipeline is the most, active, and we look at our outcomes for those children, especially at a young age, there's no denying that there's a connection there. So it really is a district and school culture issue. We have to think about how we rethink schools, not to change kids, but to change the way adults do school.
Thank you for your answer. Sylvia C. Wilson from District 1, please answer the question.
Thank you. The first thing that comes to mind right away is what were the reasons that these children are being referred, and then attack that. We've talked about with suspensions, and I know that I've been very vocal about that. Why would somebody be referred, to the principal to be suspended? Is it for something legitimate or something stupid? There's a lot of times there are a lot of very ridiculous reasons that someone may be referred for a suspension, and also which leads to the reasons why would someone need to be called to school security, to police? What are the reasons? Attack those reasons, find out why, and make some changes there. Probably for reasons that should be not even considered. Let's find some solutions to that instead of causing a problem, causing someone to be referred. Let's go to that problem and resolve it.
Thank you for your answer. Delancey Walton from District 9, it's your turn to answer the question, please.
Okay, yeah, so this topic is very important, especially being very close to their age. As a young Black girl, it's imperative for me to actually look at the cases from the RMC Research Corporation that I believe we did collaborate on going over the school to prison pipeline, and then making sure that we are holding our administration and our police officers accountable in our schools, which is very important. And we do have amazing counselors. My mom is a PPS counselor, and providing conversation resources and any needs that the student might need in the schools when they are, having trouble. And instead of going to, our officers or administrations, we do have counselors set in place for that. And then lastly, just making sure that we are being proactive. So our counselors, not only at our high school age, but as the third grade level age also. So.
Thank you for your answer. Next up, Veronica M. Edwards from District 9. It's your turn to answer the question.
That is a difficult question because there is so much going on. But the school to prison pipeline, I think, needs transparency. That transparency would have to go between classroom management, how our principals run the school, how our students are seen in the classroom because of today's problems, and how we would handle that. But I'm an advocate of character education. I think if we teach respect, responsibility, restorative practices, that we need to give the students tools to make better decisions, and our staff also. A new view. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Jamie Petrowski from District 7, it's your turn.
Yes, thank you. So I have been an advocate for essentially eliminating suspensions for non-violent offenses. Right now, it is the policy for grades K through 2. And I believe that that should be extended all the way up until 8th grade, because these are just such vulnerable years for development in children. And in addition to that, eventually removing police officers from schools, or at the very least, limiting their ability to make arrests in the first place and making those referrals to the juvenile justice system. Because the moment that we, suspend or make those referrals, we're telling our kids that we don't care about them. And then, of course, making sure that we have the appropriate amount of counselors in all of our schools, and that they also, are the same race as our students. As a colleague had pointed out, we have a student body that is 53% Black, and our counselors should reflect that as well, so that they can empathize and sympathize better with our students, and making sure that they're using trauma-informed and evidence-based practices.
Thank you for your time. Grace Higginbotham from District 1, it's your turn to answer the question.
I would echo a lot of the sentiments of everyone here on the call, but I would also say we have to look up how the system has created what we're seeing right now. I don't think the school to prison pipeline was created out of a vacuum. And so I definitely would agree with Tracy Reed when she says that we have cultivated a culture, a specific culture in our district, in schools, period, but also in school districts of what we're seeing right now. I would also say how to help to eliminate that would definitely be what has already been said, but mental health services and therapeutic supports for our students. But I also think that there needs to be alternative methods of discipline and how we discipline our students and what kind of services that they're receiving when it comes to these things. The relationship building piece is crucial, not only with students, but also with families, because a student is not absent of their family most of the time. And we can directly trace a lot of issues back to family circumstances. But I also think that there needs to be safe spaces in schools. We need to have diversity of staff where they see themselves. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Next up, Terry Kennedy from District 5. It's your turn to answer the question, please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, we need to figure out the root cause of why students are acting out and address that. And how, because if you fix the root cause or try to address it, then hopefully the discipline issues will either go away completely or be fewer for that student. But I would, in order to address the issues, I would start with restorative circles, using restorative justice, because that way the students and involved and whoever was harmed, along with other people, can participate. I find that they're very useful. 2, I would also add more supports as budget permits to address behaviors in the classroom. Not all schools have the same amount of support, and not all classes have the same support. So while I agree that we should not permit suspensions for nonviolent offenses, we have to have the supports in place. 3, we will only call school police or security aides when it's absolutely necessary. As far as lack of diverse staff, you can't hire people that don't exist. That's a problem in education.
Thank you for your time.
The state.
Thank you so much. And lastly, Salah Uddin from District 3, please answer your question. Mr. Uddin, your mic is muted.
I think we should be careful not to blame this problem on the students. I don't believe the students are the problem. I believe the adults and how they handle the situations are the problem. I voted for the ban on suspensions that we have in place now. As a matter of fact, I supported the ban going even to higher grades, 5th or 6th grade, rather than just the 2nd grade. I think we need more cultural training for teachers and principals. We need to remember that the police and the criminal justice system is not coming into the class grabbing the kids. They're being called into the class. They're being called into the schools by the principals and other staff. The board needs to be more accountable for the data related to the racial implications of.
Thank you for your time. Okay. Now we'll have closing statements, starting with Jamie Petrosky from District 7.
Thank you so much, Chandy. And I just want to thank the League of Women Voters, VEAM and BPEP, and all of the other sponsors for this event, to really let us all have the opportunity to reach voters as it gets closer and closer to Election Day. I just want to emphasize, since we didn't have a lot of time to introduce ourselves, but I have been living within my community really my whole life, and I work directly in the communities with vulnerable populations, and I'm a licensed social worker in Pennsylvania. And so a lot of these issues, all of these issues, are very near and dear to me, and I am very motivated to be a part of this solution, whether that means I am in the board seat or still just a community member. I'm definitely somebody that can be counted on, and I really am excited to I'm excited for Election Day, and I'm excited to work with my communities in the future, regardless of whatever happens. Thank you.
Thanks for that statement. Veronica M. Edwards from District 9, you're allowed to speak.
I would like to say, as a retiree of the school district, and I think I've been in the school district all my life. I began very young as a school secretary and then worked my way up the ladder. So when I see education in the midst of all of that, as an adult, I went back to college. I see it from the beginning. If we teach the children right, if we reach the children, but a part of that is also the heart. We have to have the heart to want to do what's right for all children, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, all the reasons that people use to discriminate. So I believe we have to get away from some of the things that are biases, the implicit bias. And the motto of the school district, though, is expect great things. So to all of my colleagues, this has been good. I'm really glad to have heard from everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to move on to Delancey Walton from District 9. It's your turn.
Yeah, I'm Delancey Walton. I'll just go a little bit about myself. I'm a Duquesne student. I'm 18 years old. My major is in political science. I have plenty of leadership positions throughout my life. I am the city youth leader at Amplified Church. So I'm very involved with students. I'm very involved with kids and outreach and just getting to know people, making sure that I am out here changing hearts and saving souls. And that's what this is all about, making sure that I create an atmosphere for all people in our educational system to be accepted and be academically advanced and being able to succeed as they go further on into their higher education and whatever they want to expand on in their life. So thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Sylvia C. Wilson from District 1.
Thank you. I've spent a year, all my life doing for others, and I continue to do that for the sake of our children in the school district. I had some wonderful teachers and people in my life who provided some opportunities, open doors for me. I was a young teenage mom, and I had people who helped me and made sure that I was able to not only graduate from high school, which was my goal, but I graduated from Carnegie Mellon. I became a teacher. I have been very active in community, doing for others, giving service to others as people have for me. And as a school board member, I continue to work in that role to make sure that the children in the city of Pittsburgh have those opportunities that were provided for me. And that is what I continue to do in everything that I do. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement. Tracy Reed from District 5, it's your turn.
Great. Well, thanks so much to the League of Women Voters, to VEAM, and to BPEP for sponsoring this and for inviting us all to speak tonight. I've been in PPS for about 13 years now with my two children. They spent their entire lives in PPS. I was a high school English teacher, and I have a PhD in education policy. I've spent my professional life in service to children. I know a little bit about child development and education policy, but I know personally what good schools can do to the trajectory of a person's life. I've experienced that myself, and I am really concerned about Pittsburgh Public Schools. We have to have a sense of urgency. We need to make changes that to provide the kind of schooling for our children that they need to thrive, not only academically, but socially, emotionally, physically. Our kids are brilliant, they're able. We have to provide the kind of environment that helps them to thrive.
Thank you. Lamont Frazier Jr. from District 3.
Yes, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having me. Just want to introduce myself a little bit. I'm a lifelong resident of Garfield, where I coached for over a decade, getting to mentor and coach hundreds of young men. I'm husband, father, grandfather, local union member, 1058, just looking to be a fresh voice on the board, just to offer solutions to the struggles that our scholars are facing. Trying to provide them with some of the same opportunities that help me rise above those same struggles that they're dealing with. And I just hope to have everyone's support come May 18th. And like I said, thanks for having me.
Thanks for your statement. Camille Scantling from District 7, it's your turn.
Thank you to all tonight's sponsors for holding this event today. Thank you very much. This campaign season has been something else, and I'm really excited to finish out these last 2 weeks. I'm running because I am a parent, and I am the person that I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for parents who have been disillusioned by a school district. I am fighting for community members who have not been heard. I have my own background around what I do professionally, the advocacy work that I do, and I'm looking to bring that to Pittsburgh Public Schools School Board. But with that, I want people to understand that when you're voting, please vote for what you see and what you know. Vote for people's records that you've seen in the past. Vote for people's deliverables. Look at what people have done in the past for you and think about that when you go out to vote. This is kind of common sense. Think about what you need, think about who's going to deliver on your needs, and vote accordingly. Peace and blessings to all. Have a good night.
Carlos A. Thomas from District 1.
So I'm gonna use this time to refer back to the school to prison pipeline. I also would think that the extending the consent decree, which is something that's rather new within the past 20 or so years, would be effective too. And taking a look at that and seeing what that looks like, since we do have situations of discipline. But I'm running because I am who I'm fighting for, as Camille mentioned. I have children. That's my investment. If I ain't gonna fight for my kids, then who are? And my kids includes the kids next door to me and the kids down the street and the kids next door to them because they play with my kids. That's where we gotta go. And yeah, vote for me.
Hey, thank you very much. Gene Walker from District 9.
I just want to thank everyone for putting this together and for Chandy for you facilitating tonight. As a closing, I'm Gene Walker. I'm a graduate of Pittsburgh Public Schools. I'm the father of a 2019 grad and a soon to be 2021 grad. And I'm running for school board because I believe that all of our children deserve the best possible education, regardless of their zip code and feeder pattern. I'm running because I believe in public schools, specifically Pittsburgh Public Schools, and I believe in the potential of all of our students and know that we won't fully realize that potential if we continue to do business as usual. I'm running because we need leaders who are willing to fight for change if we want anything to change. I believe I'm the best person to represent District 9 because my life and career has been about doing hard work and striving for success. And I'll demand excellence, build partnerships, and hold our leadership accountable to bring District 9 and all of Pittsburgh Public Schools the great schools that we deserve. Thanks again, and good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Salah Uddin from District 3.
Thank you. I want to thank Chandy Chapman and the League of Women Voters and all of the organizations that put this together. And thank you, Chandy, also for keeping us civil. Quite frankly, I would have preferred a little bit more engagement and rough and tumble because we have a crisis of education in the city of Pittsburgh and the school district, and it is urgent, especially for Black children in the school district. And the pandemic and the closing of schools just made that crisis worse. So I hope everyone feels the urgency and the need for change. If you're happy with the way the school district is, then perhaps you should vote for my opponent. But if you see the need for change, you need to be sure to get out and vote. And meanwhile, check out my website, solidforschoolboard.com.
Thank you for that. Terry Kennedy from District 5.
Sorry. Thank you to Chandy and all the sponsors for tonight. I'm a long-term volunteer since in the district since the second half of the 1990s, since before my children started school. My children have attended PPS operated schools for 18 years, I should say schools and programs, although they've both since graduated. My priorities are equity, culturally responsive education at all and curriculum at all grade levels, and more in-person technology support at more locations so it's easily accessible to everybody now that we're doing one-to-one devices. I am currently working with folks with special needs, and let's see, let me just go over again. Terry is T is for tenacious, E is for education and equity focused, R is for restorative justice advocate, the second R is for responsible and reliable, and the Y is for youth focused. Thank you to everybody. Good night.
And the last person is Grace Higginbotham from District 1. Now, before you begin, I do have some good news for the candidates and the people who are watching at home. I've just been informed that we do have some extra time. So after these statements, I'm going to ask you one more question. So you're not off the hook yet, but I wanted to be fair and wait till the last person. So we do have time for one more question. And Grace Higginbotham, please give your statement, and then we'll go back around from the next person that was first in line, and that would be Carlos. Go ahead.
My name is Grace Higginbotham. I'm running for school board director for District 1 here in the city of Pittsburgh. I am a longtime Pittsburgh resident. I am a lifelong learner. I'm from Garfield. I currently reside in Homewood. The reason why I'm running for school board is because, as Brother Saleh just said, the state of our school district and our students is in crisis. We no longer have time to expect great things from Pittsburgh Public Schools. We now have to move to demanding it. I thoroughly believe, and we can see that our students, even before the pandemic, were several grade levels behind in reading and math. And with the pandemic, we don't know how much damage has actually been done. I'm running for my next door neighbor and his children. I'm running for my nieces and nephews and cousins. I'm running to advocate for those who've been disenfranchised for the district. I'm running for those to teach them how to advocate for themselves. I am because we are. And if the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's time to break the cycle. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now here's our bonus question, we'll call it. Starting with Carlos Thomas, how do you plan to balance the school board budget?
I think that we need to stop playing with that on the city level and take that to Harrisburg. I also think that we need to figure out what to do, figure out a better usage of the budget that we already have. It's already twice the city's budget. It's rather large. I'm not an expert in the budget. So as far as what the school board has been telling us is that we need more money, I would definitely, go to Harrisburg. The understanding of just how the tax structure is set up for education in the state of Pennsylvania is criminal. It encourages privatization of public tax dollars. And that's something that needs to be noted in our state legislation. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you so much. Camille Scantling from District 7, you're next.
Yes, for the budget, I feel like we need to put the money where we claim our priorities are and then trim the fat in other places. So right now we have a very heavy budget in our staffing, and we have a very heavy central staffing that is not necessarily efficient or doing what needs to be done at the moment. So that's a place we can trim instead of looking at trimming our teachers, our coaching staff, our teachers, which just happened a minute ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And then I do know we spend a huge amount of money in our charter schools. We need to look at speaking to our state representatives to advocate for us at a state level to talk about what happens with the funding with charter schools so that we can make adjustments there.
Thank you so much. And please respond to the question. It's your turn to answer. Lamont Frazier Jr. from District 3.
You got it. I'll answer the question. We balance the budget. For one, I will be in favor of raising the property tax only if it goes directly towards our schools. Being a taxpayer myself, I'm not opposed to that at all. But I really think I really am an advocate of making these big corporations pay their fair share. All these tax exempt companies or inner city and not contributing to our schools. So yeah, definitely making them pay their fair share, reevaluating this charter school budget. And yeah, that's my answer there.
Thank you for your answer. Tracy Reed from District 5, you're next.
So I think the first thing we need to figure out is how we got here, how we got to our budget crisis. We started the school year 5 years ago with more than $100 million budget surplus. And this year, the projected budget deficit, I think, was around $30 million. So I think we need to figure out how we got to the place where we ate through an entire surplus and now we're entering into a deficit. When we have fewer students, we have a bigger central administration. We've spent lots of money on things like technology. I don't know that we've enjoyed the fruits of that, simply because when COVID happened, we didn't have the technology in order for students to actually learn remotely. So I think that we have to be more careful, more transparent, and really interrogate what we're doing with our funds.
Thank you so much. Sylvia C. Wilson from District 1, please answer the question.
Thank you. There are many things that have to take place. One is working with Harrisburg and trying to get the reforms for charter schools that we need. Cyber charter schools are getting the same amount of money per student, and they don't even have buildings for utilities and things like that. It's an exorbitant amount going to them. So we do need charter school reform and the formula on how they're receiving money. We have high transportation costs because we're transporting not just our own students, but we transport parochial, private, and charter school students, and that increases our costs. Central administration has been reduced significantly over the years. It used to be very top heavy. It is not as top heavy as it once was. It has significantly down because we have high retirement costs. And of course we have costs for employees. You have to have teachers to teach children. And so there are costs related to your staffing. I mean, that's a given. That's always going to.
Thank you so much. And Delancey Walton from District 9, it's your turn to answer the question.
Yeah, as for just going back over something, as we're speaking about our crisis when it comes to finances, we are out of a deficit as of right now due to COVID relief money. And for technology, our students are all getting new computers. When it comes to moving forward, though, and making sure that we are accountable and responsible for our finances, it's just a collaborative act and making sure that we are holding each other accountable in how we allocate our money and where it goes, as long as it is student focused once again, and as long as we are holding the finance committee accountable for really going over it and restructuring how we do our finances is important.
Okay, next up, Veronica M. Edwards from District 9, please answer the question. Veronica, are you there? Well, she may not have heard that we had extra time for a question. So we apologize for that, but we're going to move on to Jamie Petrowski from District 7. It's your turn.
Yes, thank you. So this is definitely something to be tackled at multiple levels. So at the district level, right now, we do have the Biden administration's rescue plan dollars, but we can't rely on that to, get us through year after year. So we definitely also need to work with the city to, have the earned income tax monies returned, which is about $20 million per year that has been diverted from the school district. As other colleagues have stated, is working at the state level with Harrisburg to make sure that our funding formulas are fair, because they haven't probably been looked at since about the 90s. And so that includes, for special education, as well as our brick and mortar charter schools and cyber charter schools. And then even going, advocating up at the federal level, because, the Biden administration has made education one of its priorities. And I think it's also a long time that the federal government has contributed more towards education, because that is a huge part of our infrastructure as well, in order to have, a successful country as a whole. So just advocacy at every level.
Okay, thank you so much. Grace Higginbotham from District 1, can you answer the question at this time?
I would echo the sentiments of what everyone has said. I definitely think we need to look at the federal and state level, but I think that we need to take a closer introspection of our history, historically, how we got in a situation and what our spending habits are as Pittsburgh Public Schools. I think that the district needs to have an audit, maybe for the last 10 years of their finances, so we can see where our money has gone and what we've been spending it on. I also think that we need to reassess how we spend our revenue, first and foremost, but I think that we also need to have strategic spending to look at what money we have and where we're actually going to place it. And then simultaneously, where can we do some belt tightening? Because I think if we throw more money at a problem and we haven't gotten our spending habits in control, we're just going to be in the same situation. So we have to stop, we have to break this abusive spending cycle to balance the budget. But I also think that we definitely need to look at the state and federal level as well.
Thank you so much. Next up, Terry Kennedy from District 5. It's your turn.
Okay, so if you think of the budget as a big pie, and you have only so many pieces of that pie, and more than 50% of that pie today is taken up by fixed costs that we have to, such as salary, benefits, retirement costs, standardized testing, transportation, charter expenses. That's actually a lot more than 50% of our budget. Now you look at what's left, and we have to use that to address based on the prioritizing our student needs. And that's where we have to focus, but make it on ethical based on how our values are. That is the what we need to do. We also need to work with our friends in Harrisburg to address charter expenses, the tax diversion, and not cutting our funding. So that would be my response. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Salah Uddin from District 3, please answer the question.
Thank you.
You're muted, Mr. Uddin.
The discussion of the budget deficit is, in my view, a false flag. The best way for us to increase our revenue is to provide a better product, provide better student outcomes, and people will come back to the district who have left the district going to charter schools and private schools and religious schools. That's the best way to increase the outcome. But I don't believe we need to increase another dime of revenue until we have a better strategy for how we're educating the children. We have plowed through $100 million surplus and not a single digit of closing the achievement gap between Black and white students. Why put more money into a system that doesn't know how to close the achievement gap? We have to stop thinking that there's a deficit problem. There's a strategic problem.
We have a problem with our timer, but your time is up. We just got to learn it. Okay, so Gene Walker, District 9, and if you go over your minute, you will hear that voice say your time is up, and I will remind you.
Sounds good. So balancing a budget is a pretty simple formula. You either need to increase revenue, decrease costs, or do both. And so I think to tackle the budget issues, we have to look at how we're spending our money and why. And so we know that over the last 4 years, our budget has increased by $100 million. So the first thing we look at is where is that money going and how can we use it more effectively? And then second, I agree, we need to work with our city, county, and state government to lobby some reforms, especially in our charter schools, so that we can save money where it's possible. And then finally, I stand with Salah in saying that we just need to create a better product and provide better outcomes for our students so that we become the district of choice, which brings people back into the district, which ultimately will solve many of our budget issues. And so we start at the beginning. Let's figure out what our priorities are and make sure that we're spending our money in a way that produces.
Time is up.
Thank you so much. Okay, so to find more information about the candidates, this is for all the viewers out there and the candidates and the state and local ballot questions, go to the League of Women Voters online voters guide at 411.org. That's 411.org. I'll say it again, vote 411.org. Type in your home address and all ballot questions, and all candidates on your personal ballot appear. The primary is Tuesday, May 18th. Vote in person, or make sure your mail-in ballot is received by May 18th. Now, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Greater Pittsburgh, the Black Political Empowerment Project, Voter Empowerment Education, Enrichment Movement, and other nonpartisan sponsors, thank you. I would like to thank our candidates for participating in this forum, and thank you for allowing me to be your moderator tonight. Thank you for your attention for the viewers online. This forum is the property of the League of Women Voters of Greater Pittsburgh and can be found in its entirety on the League's Facebook page. We'll have a break until the next portion of our forum.